Hey everybody, it's Stephanie Ward of fireflycoaching.com. I'm here today with the famous Ben Hammersley, who is a futurist, a speaker, a trapeze artist, speaks Italian, um, juggles probably too.
Yeah, I've been known.
And he's going to share with us how he's been able to grow his business
Mm,
that he's had for the last 9 to 10 years. So tell us,
that's right.
Ben, how have you done it?
um,
Or the
which I knew.
top 1 or 2, 3 tips.
So it's actually really. I'm going to take a slightly more philosophical
Okay.
approach to this question, right? So I think what makes, for example, my business or my practice different from other people's is that mine is frustratingly unspecific, right? In that I am, when I'm introduced at parties, or when I try and tell my parents what I do for a living, then the best sort of way of explaining it is sort of some form of consultancy, right? Some form of, and depending on who I'm talking to, that could be like management consultancy or strategy consultancy or something like that. And most of the time, I guess I'm called a futurist or or some sort of variation on that phrase. But what I do in general is I go into companies or to individuals or to governments or just to whoever wants to employ me, and I go in and I help them think about the future. And how that is done is usually in forms of presentations and keynotes, or it's in forms of close one-on-one consultancy, or it's in terms of, to a lesser extent, it's in terms of things like workshops and training and things like that. But to be honest with you, not as much of that as most people do. And the point of that whole, the reason of saying that is because that is a very, very inspecific like product offering, right? In that if you look on my website, it doesn't say what I do more
Yes.
than in general.
I
It
was
doesn't
very
really.
curious about that because you don't have like a services where people can click and go, oh, I can hire Ben to do this, this, and this.
That's
So
right.
it's a
That's right.
mystery.
That's right. And so this sort of comes to my point, which is that I am paid for myself, as it were, and my ability to be professionally weird.
Okay. I
Because
love it.
because yeah, because my clients aren't looking for another dude in a suit.
Right.
They're not looking for management consultancy that they could get from, a major consultancy firm like McKinsey or Bain or something like that. And they're not looking for a specific piece of help with, say, for example, productivity or with planning or like HR or something like that. They're not looking for a specific bit of coaching with a specific problem set where it's easy to find that person, because you just look for consultants who've worked in that field before. I mean, usually those sorts of consultants are people who've worked in that field before and they've spun out into their own business. My clients are facing much wider philosophical problems, weirdly. Yeah, kind of what I do is almost like therapy.
Sounds like it. Yeah. They need some help.
They need help, and the reason that they know they need help is because they're having some form of crisis, right? And they're having a crisis, whether that's a personal crisis or a business crisis or a national crisis or something like that. And usually those things are all the same. For a CEO, a personal crisis and a business crisis is absolutely the same thing, or certainly a business crisis is also a personal crisis. And the reason that they're having that crisis is because of a mismatch between how they see the world and how the world actually is.
But how do they find out? How do they come to think to call Ben? How do they know they have to call you? How do they even know you exist? Is it because you've built this amazing network of
A
referrals, or?
little bit of that, a little bit of it's all referral. You know, a good deal of it is referrals, um, and a good deal of it is that I have, and then the rest of it is because I have sort of speaking agents and so on around the world,
Okay.
who do a little bit of new business outreach, but mostly it's that my clients will go to a speaking client or will go to their friends, a speaking agency, or they'll go to their friends or their colleagues and they'll say, we need to know about the future.
Okay. That's the
And
key word, futurist.
yeah, yes, but then there is this process of really narrowing it down to people I can help and people I can't.
Oh, and who can't you help? That's great that you make that distinction.
I can't help anybody who. So this is going to sound like a terrible sort of pat bit of therapy, right? But I can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped.
Totally.
In the first instance,
Yeah.
Right. And that's the same for anybody. But the sort of work that I do increasingly is very, very challenging for everybody concerned, because it's effectively saying to people, everything that you think about how the world works is wrong.
Whoops.
and it's not, and that isn't a judgment on that person. It isn't because that person is stupid. And in fact, usually not, right? It's usually that they were very, very smart, and they got to positions of great responsibility and power because they were very smart, and because their previous models of understanding the world worked very well. They worked very, very well until the moment they stopped. And when they stop working, then those people have a big crisis on their hands. And this is really actually, in many ways, a sort of a symbol of the present day, which is that we everywhere around the world, for different reasons and with different specifics, but everywhere around the world over the past 10 years, certainly over the past 5, we have had really a collapse of the status quo, which had been roughly the same for the previous 40 years. And so you have a whole, and that timing is very bad for people who are in senior roles, because people who are in senior roles today are basically in their late 50s or early 60s, or maybe a bit older. And so they have had their entire working life living in a world where it was rules-based, it was very gendered, it was very class-based, and the classes were understandable. It was a like East-West Cold War split. It was liberal democracy, capitalism against central planned socialism. And so on and so on. All of those things that are kind of the way we assume the way the world works, even down to the hours that you work during the day, or when you're available to your boss, or what tools are available, or how you think about things, or how you deliver work, and all these different things. And all of that has fallen away almost completely in the past 10 years. And so at the same time, not only have you had a radical change in the way the world actually is, but you've also had 10 years of reaction to that change, which has caused even more confusion. So you've had political reactions to change, which have made things worse, right? Whether that's Brexit or President Trump being elected, or whatever it is, right? All of which you can trace back to being social movements against modernity and against current modernity. You've had, in the past 10 years, you've had smartphones, right? Smartphones, the iPhone is only 11 years old, right? So if you go back 12 years, if you think back 12 years ago, the world was utterly different. And if you were 52 12 years ago, you were probably in a very senior bit of management. My clients would have been in quite senior management, and now 12 years later, they're even higher roles, and they are trying to control their business or control their whatever it is, make their responsibilities work based on models that served them very well up until 12 years ago, and which are now totally wrong. And so it's the growth of my business has been through a combination of, I think, three things. One is the increased
confusion.
well, yes, and then the increased recognition amongst people that they are confused. I think that's one thing. So it's the people, there is need out there that is being expressed.
Yeah.
So you have people going, this is a problem. And combined with that, the increased social acceptability of being able to say that, at least in private, and say, okay, I need somebody to help me with that, which is, again, part of a wider social change that's tied in with things like the social movements around mental health and things like that. Then you have the rise of independent digital media, and so most people who employ me have been like, I've had a referral or have been told about me, and then they've gone and seen, go and watch videos on YouTube, or they've checked out my writing online or something like that. And so that wouldn't have been possible before, and that's increasingly very important, I think. And then I think but then the third thing, and this is the weird bit of it, is that for me to be able to do this job, I cannot be them.
Right.
I cannot be a Boston Consulting Group consultant. I can't be a Bain consultant. I can't be a McKinsey consultant. I can't be a dude in a suit. And my work with them involves a considerable amount of non-linear thinking, of massively synthesized solutions from many areas, from a very eclectic set of knowledge and skills. And so my growth, my business's growth, has directly mirrored my personal growth. And so to finally answer your question, I think my business has grown specifically because I have concentrated an awful lot on growing parallel or even ahead of it, so that I'm always the strangest person in the room in terms of my knowledge base, in terms of my eclecticism, in terms of my specialities. And because of that, whenever I'm go and see a client, or talk to an audience or whatever, and especially in the more private things that don't appear on YouTube, I can be very
honest.
Well, I can be very honest, but I can also, yes, I can be very honest, but I can also be very unusual, in that I can bring in examples and bring in analogies and bring in metaphors and bring in ways of thinking and cognitive tools that they will have never seen before.
Wow.
And if I stopped growing personally, then I would very rapidly headphones falling out. If I stopped growing personally, then I would very rapidly become just any other consultant who is just running from somebody else's playbook. I'd just be the same as a 25-year-old who was working for Bain. So I think in terms of getting new business, it's a combination of doing a really good job and being memorable whilst doing it, and that is directly, I think, related to the fact that I consciously and purposefully reinvent myself or at least my knowledge base, continually and constantly.
I think that's so
And
important that you,
yeah,
yeah, that you're sharing that.
I don't think, so, I look at my sort of sales pipeline right now, and I have work booked through till November, right?
Wow.
Which is fantastic.
And it's January, people, right now. So
yeah, quite. Now I'm not fully booked up, so but I have work booked through to November, but with the clients who I'm seeing in sort of July, August, September, October, November, the deal basically is that we are going to do something, but what the content of that will be, we do not know. And in fact, I will not tell you. I'm not because I will not tell you because it's secret. Is I won't tell you because I have no idea.
You don't know.
I don't know, and I don't know on purpose, because if I could tell them now what I was going to tell them in November, then it will be completely useless to them in November.
I love that. I think that's so brave. I mean, it sounds so smart and simple, but it takes bravery to say, I'm going to continue to be on the cutting edge and continue to get as weird and out there as I can. And that's a message we can take and try to master our craft and go to the edge, go all the way to the edge. And
So one of the things that really got me thinking about this a lot was from reading an awful lot of literature around goal setting and planning and sort of deliberate practice and things like that. Because I do a lot of athletics and whenever I do some form of new hobby, I tend to sort of like go deep on it. And so I do a lot of training. I'm doing 2 triathlons this year, and
wow.
I did one last year, and this year I'm doing 2, and because it's obviously,
because why not? Because it's so easy.
Yeah. Well, quite. Yeah. But part of that was I did an awful lot of, and over the past few years as well, around sort of concepts of elite performance. Goal setting research is really interesting, and in the literature for goal setting, there are two ways of doing goals. There are what called outcome goals and process goals. And an outcome goal is, by December the 1st, I want to have billed $1 million, or by December the 1st, I want to have won an Olympic gold medal, or, the goal is the outcome. It's a target and that's the thing that you're heading towards. The other type is a process goal, which is every morning I'm going to get up and I'm going to, run for 40 minutes, and I'm going to read 2 books, and I'm going to, and they're smaller and they're daily, and they just start again the next day. And the process goal is to just continue the process. So process goals never end, and outcome goals definitely end because they have a deadline. And all of this goal setting literature shows that process goals are infinitely superior. That if you set a process goal of, you say, okay, in my mind, I would like to, win a gold medal in the 2024 Olympics. And so in order to do that, I'm going to need to start by, working out in a very conscious way, 3 hours a day, right? Then the outcome goal is win a gold medal. That doesn't get you anywhere, but doesn't do anything. But the process goal of tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym for 3 hours, and the day after that I'm going to go to the gym for 3 hours. Then that works, right? And what the literature shows you is that actually, even without an outcome goal at all, you get much further. Yeah. You make much more progress with the process goal. Yeah. And not only do you make much more progress, but it's also much easier because it's very easy to just do a little thing.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
so
going to go,
true.
you know, I'm just going to go to the gym for 20 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and going to the gym for 20 minutes is an easy goal. Losing 25 pounds
That's
by,
bigger.
that's much bigger, right? That's much more
Yeah.
difficult. And the thing is if you look at the losing 25 pounds goal, and after a week, you know, you've had a bad week or whatever, and you've gained a pound, then that crushes you,
Mm-hmm.
and you probably give up, or most people give up after a few of those. Whereas a process goal of, I'm going to go to the gym every day, you miss a day, okay,
Okay. Yeah. It's
but
easier to go back.
pick it up tomorrow,
Mm.
right? And so this is the same thing I think with growing businesses, is that if I said I'm going to set an outcome goal, if I want to bill, you know, $1 million this year, then that's cool, and it's got this sort of like, you know, very sort of American, like, oh, let's do
Yeah.
it, sort of positive thinking sort
Yeah.
of thing, but it doesn't do fuck all, right?
Mm.
Whereas if I have a process goal of, you know, every day I'm going to read, for an hour I'm going to read new research, and for half an hour I'm going to write stuff, and I'm going to send 5 emails
Mm.
and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Simply, easily tick offable process goals.
Mm.
Then you find that you actually make much more progress in a shorter time. And I see so many people choosing outcome over process, because outcome's exciting, and
Yeah.
process sort of emphasizes how hard it is. But actually, once you get into it, you realize actually what process does is it liberates you, because you realize that as long as you've done your thing, you can go home.
Yeah. No, I think that's brilliant. I'm so glad that you shared that distinction. So, just to wrap up, in addition to referrals, having representation, if that works for your business model, and then just being authentic and mastering your craft and focusing on small steps instead of trying to win the whole lottery in one day. That's really, I love that you said it's
Right.
liberating. That's great
Right.
news.
It's very liberating. And then
Yeah.
just to add to that, I think it's a matter of thinking very clearly about what problem it is that you're solving for your clients,
Oh, I love
and
that one.
consistently
Yeah.
reinventing how you can solve that problem. Because
Love that.
certainly the way that I would solve a problem 5 years ago
Oh,
is now
totally.
completely different to the way I would do it today. But if I hadn't continually reassessed
Mm.
and made that actually part of my process, right? So every day I'm constantly looking at ways I do things and just going, oh, could I do this a bit better? Is this easier? Do I still have to be doing this? Is this a thing?
I
Then
love
that
that.
becomes part of the process.
Constant inquiry, checking
Exactly.
where you're at.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Ben, thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule off for international flight now.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
I'm so happy to be able to share your wisdom with our community. So thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time and your brilliance.
Well, bless you. Thank you very much.